just hate it when you've been standing in line for a long time and someone else cuts in front of you? They're saying to everyone around them, I'm more important than your process of standing in line the way you're supposed to. Can I tell you that Yah hates it too? This very folks, a 10-minute Torah, day number 1, the Torah portion, Tisa. We're in Shemot or Exodus chapter number 30. And we'll start with verse 11. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, when you take the census of the children of Israel to register them, then each one shall give an atonement for his life to Yahweh, when you register them, so that there is no plague among them when you register them. And then we go down to verse number 17. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, and you shall make a basin of bronze, with its stand also of bronze for washing. You shall put it between the tent of appointment and the slaughter place, and put water in it. Aaron and his sons shall wash from it with their hands and their feet. And then verse 20 says, when they go into the tent of atonement, or when they come near the slaughter place to attend to burn an offering made by fire to Yahweh, they wash with water, lest they die. Wow. Verse 22, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, take for yourself choice spices, 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, and half as much, 250 of sweet-smelling cinnamon, 250 of sweet-smelling cane, 500 of cassia, according to the shekel of the set-apart place, and a hin of olive oil. And you shall make from these a set-apart anointing oil, a compound, blended the work of a perfumer. It is a set-apart anointing oil. And it says in verse 32 and 33, it shall not be poured on the flesh of man, nor make any other like it according to its composition. It is set apart. It is set apart to you. Whoever compounds any like it, or whoever puts any of it on a stranger, shall be cut off from his people. And then finally it says in verse 34, and Yahweh said to Moshe, take sweet spices, fragrant gum, and cinnamon, and galbanum, and clear frankincense with these sweet spices, all in equal amounts. You shall make of these an incense, a compound, or work of a perfumer, salted, clean, set apart. The last verse says in verse 38, whoever makes any like it to smell it, he shall be cut off from his people. I see in this section here a process, a right procedure, and we are given a lot of details, and we're kind of given a lot of information in a short period of time, and it seems to be jumping from one topic to the other fairly quickly. But if we go back and put it all together, I think we can see a process here by which we walk into and continue in spiritual maturity. Step 1, as we see it, is atonement. That is a sense of redemption. Everything begins with redemption. Unless the soul of a man, the spirit of a man is redeemed, that is atoned for, that is, it is changed, our very nature is changed, we will never cease who we have always been. Man left to his own devices, I've said this many times, will ultimately destroy himself. He will degrade himself, and find himself at lower levels of life and living and life expression than he ever imagined. Simply put, the sin nature that exists in us seeks to do the work of Hasatan, to steal, to kill, and destroy, according to Yochanan in John chapter 10, verse 10. With that understood, then, we need redemption. We all need a redeemer, one to pay the atonement price on our behalf. Here, what is being discussed is the giving of a half shekel of silver to atone for one who is being counted. That it was forbidden for Israel to just count heads, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But the way that Yah said to do this, to gain an understanding of how many men of fighting age were in Israel, that every man give the same equal amount, a half shekel. Count the half shekels, then you know how many people you have. So there's the silver shekel. The silver speaks of redemption. It is a redeeming price. It is an atonement price. But it speaks of us, or to us, about Yeshua atoning for us. So before we get started in any other respect, we need to make sure that our sin nature has been replaced by a redeemed nature. Unfortunately, that sin nature always wants to hang around. There's a powerful lesson to be learned about the righteous inclination and the evil inclination, and how that they war one against the other. This is what Rav Shaul writes to us about in Galatians chapter number 5, and also in the book of Romans chapter number 8. And we deal with the old man of the flesh on a regular, consistent basis. The ideologies, the mindsets, the habits, the inclinations of our old fallen nature want to rise up on an everyday basis. You don't have to sin, but we are often given to it, unfortunately. But there is atonement. And once we are redeemed in Messiah Yeshua, we don't have to live that way any longer. After this, then, there is need of cleansing, a washing of the water of the Word, Rav Shaul wrote about. There is a need then for this Word to wash us, to instruct us, to cleanse us, to cleanse our mind. If we put this Word in our mind, in our spirit, if it becomes a continual feeding and nourishment to our spirit, we will go strong enough to overcome what has been in our past. We also need a washing of the Spirit, just the flood of the Ruach HaKodesh, the washing of the artesian wells that rise up from within us, Yeshua talked about. So there is a need then of this washing. And it says we are to wash lest we die. If you want to yield to the flesh, you will die. The life according to the flesh is death, Romans 8 says. So it's good to be washed. This is followed then by anointing. A lot of people want to skip straight to the anointing. The anointing of Yah is a very powerful, glorious thing. These principal spices, once they are mixed together, they are not necessarily in a pourable form. It's not like that you would have it in a jug and turn it up and it would just liquefy and run out. It's more like a paste. It's a thick oil, and it was smeared upon. It was rubbed into the flesh of one. Many, many years ago, 17, 18 years of age in revival, I had an evangelist look at me and said, "May I do what the Father wants me to do?" And he's standing there with this large bottle of olive oil that we used in our church for anointing people. I dare not say no. You have to understand, back in those days, hair was very important, and I had a lot of it. He said, "Lean your head over," and he poured oil on the top of my head, and it ran down my face. And he said to me, "Once you have oil poured over your head, you will never be the same." I have to say that that's true. But the anointing is that which consecrates us and sets us apart. It's not a physical, spiritual jolt that we feel. It's not goosebumps on the flesh. It's not euphoria. It's not spiritual excitement. It is empowerment and enablement to get the job done. It coincides with purpose and with calling. And then finally, after we see the anointing take place, then there is the ability to intercede. A lot of folks want to be atoned for, washed, and anointed so they can go on some great miracle-working campaign, stand in front of crowds of people, speak and prophesy and do external things. Some of the greatest, most anointed people in the world that the world's ever seen are those that we do not know. They hid themselves away in a prayer closet and cried out passionately to the Most High with all of their being. And their prayers were like precious incense, plumes of smoke that went up into the receptive nostrils of the Most High, who heard and answered their prayers, and you and I are beneficiaries of it. Give yourself to the process today, and we'll see you again tomorrow. To this, shalom.